Hi guys, this is gsno.com and I'm here with the unboxing of the freshly unveiled Motorola Moto G100. In some parts of Asia, it's known as Moto Edge S. Well, for us, it's a bit of a surprise. It's the first phone with a Snapdragon 870 processor that we test. This CPU was unveiled recently and it has been nicknamed Snapdragon 865 Plus, two pluses. Now, as usual, Motorola has a few things going for it. The bundled case is one of them, the beautiful and interesting back color, and some innovation, especially the fact that we get an extra ring flash along the macro camera. Now, aside from that, there's an interesting thing written on the case, but first of all, let's power up the Moto G100. I've already set it up, so this is out of the way. We don't have an official price at the moment, but from what I've heard, it should be around 480 euros. Okay, so that thing I mentioned before on the box, it's written here, it's called ready for compatible, and ready for is basically a new service or feature of the phone which lets you connect it via USB-C to a monitor, to a keyboard and mouse, and trigger a sort of desktop-like environment. Okay, the usual ring sound, and now let's see what's inside the box. So we start off with this area here where we can find the manual. The key used to access the slots. We have a hybrid slot system, so either nano SIM plus nano SIM or nano SIM plus microSD. This is the service I was mentioning, so if you scan this little thingy, you should be able to, well, trigger the service and connect to a TV or monitor via HDMI port or USB-C video in. So basically, the USB-C port at the bottom outputs video signal and triggers a desktop-like environment. And these are the juridic info. Next up, we have the cable, which goes from USB-C here to full USB-A here. And a charger, which has an USB-A connector and offers us the promise of up to, let's see, 20 watts of charging. That's everything available inside the box, no surprises here. Motorola is keeping it pretty simple, and I'm actually curious to see how the ready for service works. You will have to possess either an USB-C cable able to output video or a cable that goes from USB-C to HDMI. This is the actual device, and I think I'm going to up the brightness a little bit. Okay, and let's talk about the design first and foremost. It's quite a long and narrow phone. Also, it's pretty well built, and if you want the measurements, it's 9.69 millimeters in thickness, so it's rather beefy, and weighs 207 grams. I would say that the back is made of plastic, but it catches the light in an interesting fashion. It's a sort of blue, but it's the sort of blue you'd see in a Marvel movie. Aside from that, once again, I would say it has a solid build, and here on the right side, you got your fingerprint scanner inside a flat power button, and above it there are the two volume buttons united into a single volume button actually. Now, aside from that, leaving everything aside, the back is gently curved to fit your palm better, and I would say the bezels are a bit thick. I think the surprise is already spoiled. You can see the two cutouts here. We have a dual selfie camera in two punch holes, and as usual, Motorola is offering us a special water repellent material applied to the case, so it's protected from the random droplets of water. Now, the display you're seeing at this moment is a 6.7-inch panel with a resolution of 2520 over 1080 pixels. This is an IPS LCD screen, by the way, and it has a 90 Hz refresh rate and HDR10 support, all of them welcome. Now, we go inside and find the CPU. It's the Qualcomm Snapdragon 870, which is basically the Snapdragon 865 Plus. It's basically the Plus version with a higher clock rate. It's actually the highest clock rate of a Qualcomm CPU ever, or at least it was when it was launched. It has an Adreno 650 GPU, and it also comes with 8 gigs of RAM. And also it should offer you 128 gigabytes of storage. The good news is that this RAM is actually the good one, LPDDR5, and the storage also the good one, UFS 3.1, with a special turbo write system, and you're also getting a microSD card slot with support for up to 1 terabyte of extra space. Speaking of good things, I should probably also mention that you're getting a pretty generous battery here. It's a 5000 mAh unit with a 20-watt charge. Motorola has been offering us huge batteries and generous battery lives on quite a few phones lately. Looking at the bottom of the phone, you can see the speaker, you can see a microphone next to it, an USB-C port, and also the audio jack. While at the top side we have another microphone, and here the third microphone. We have a triple microphone system, and here you can see mentioned the audio zoom, which is a feature we're going to use when filming. Now, this port here at the bottom is actually an USB-C 3.1, and it's DisplayPort compatible. And aside from that, I think it's time to discuss some connectivity aspects. So we go here, and I should probably mention that this is a 5G phone, if you haven't figured that out already. You got NFC, you got your GPS, 5G, Wi-Fi 6 even, and also, well, we have the Bluetooth 5.1. Let's turn up the brightness just a tad more, and I think it's time to finally address the cameras. Now, at the front side you can see two cutouts, and these two cutouts are for a 16 megapixel main shooter with a quad pixel setup. So once again you're taking 4 megapixel shots, and the other one is a 8 megapixel ultra-wide shooter. Now that we're done with the front side and the two 16 and 8 megapixel shooters that we have here, let's go to the back side where we find an interesting setup. First of all, there is a 64 megapixel shooter with f1.7 aperture and a quad pixel setup, which means it combines 4 pixels into one. Then there is the most interesting camera of all. This is a 16 megapixel ultra-wide shooter with macro vision duty and a ring flash around it. And then we have a 2 megapixel bokeh camera plus the time of flight laser mechanism here. This camera shoots video in 6K at 30 frames per second or 4K at 60 frames. Now, aside from that, I think we've covered pretty much everything as far as the hardware is concerned. As usual, we're running on a stock and clean Android experience here, with Motorola only providing this area where you can customize your experience with the personalization here of your fonts, colors, icon shapes, layout, and so much more. And also, as usual, we have those extra features, those extra gestures found here. There's also flip for do not disturb. There are the display features, peak display and attentive display, replacing always on display, and the gaming functionality for game time. You can find here a bunch of tools, settings and options to make gaming a bit more immersive, block notifications and gestures. Okay, so I think it's time to show you the goods, and let's go to the camera interface. And here you can see the standard 1x zoom, the ultra wide, and the macro. And aside from that, we also have this area which brings a new feature. It's called dual capture. So you're performing capture with the front and back cameras at the same time. And we also have a portrait video, cinematograph, full 64 megapixel shots, night vision. And let's go here just a little bit. Go to the macro camera and activate the flash. So this is the flash turned off, and we're turning it on right now. So you can see the ring flash around it. It should help you trigger a sort of microscope-like features. It amplifies by 5 times small details. So there's that. I think I'm actually going to go ahead and try something here. Just give me a minute. Okay, so this should look pretty interesting. This sharp tip, courtesy of the macro amplifications and that ring flash, provided you get the proper focus and the proper centimeters for it. I would say it already looks better than the typical macro camera, but you just have to find the ideal position and lighting. So the lighting should help a lot. We're just getting accustomed to it. There may be better things to use this feature on. It's a good thing that we have actually 2 flashes on board, and they're pretty powerful. In a nutshell, this is the phone, and its core functionality are related to the USB-C and its output of video and desktop functionality, plus the fact that we're getting these special ultra-wide and macro cameras combined. Not to forget a pretty powerful processor inside, which we're just having the first contact with and will be present on a few, or better said, a lot of phones this year. This is pretty much it from gsnhome.com. Hope you enjoyed this. We have a lot of new stuff here. The OnePlus 9s are unboxed, as well as the Galaxy A's, so be advised and be sure to check us out. This is it from us. Bye bye.